open it up for questions.
How are you going to differentiate the ballot question? I can just see voters being confused when they see the two different questions on the ballot. How are you working to educate voters?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step is to make sure that the Secretary of State certifies what will be on the ballot, right? And so we don't want to get ahead of that. And we'll continue to do what we've been doing. We're making sure to understand our language, what's in the constitutional amendment. So what differs ours with having up to fetal viability, making sure folks are informed and not using misinformation to try to get their vote. Yes.
How many affidavits did you turn in on people that said they signed the wrong petition?
Yes, so we have had experiences with about 100 folks that have come to some of the office hours to sign affidavits, but we know through being out canvassing and collecting signatures and from folks reporting in that there's way more. And so, that number is just for folks that understood this new process. And so we are confident that as folks will continue to be educated on how to remove your name from a ballot initiative that you felt like you were tricked into signing, that there will absolutely have higher numbers than that 100.
And Ashley, can you repeat the questions moving forward for the live stream
yes.
audience? Thank you.
Yes, sorry live stream. I'm gonna repeat the questions. I got y'all.
Can you talk a little bit about the challenge of trying to cut through 3 different petitions all on the same issue, and even just trying to collect signatures when you're often met with people from the same group?
Yes, so the question is around the challenges of having to cut through 3 different initiatives and getting people the information about ours. I am really confident in the work that this campaign put in. We have an amazing campaign manager in the back. Allie Berry, raise your hand. We really helped to make sure that the campaign that we were running was filled with integrity, that we gave folks information, and that we did things by the book. So we're reading the object statement. We're wearing our shirts that say protect our rights. We're giving people websites, right? Like we were doing what we needed to do to make sure that we had everything above board. And so while it was difficult, of course, we are super confident in what we did and what we succeeded with. And I think that is demonstrated through the 207,000 signatures that we turned in, which is the most to date in any ballot initiative across the state. Yes.
Have you guys given much thought to what would happen if voters approved both yours and the 12-week ban?
So the question is, have we given much thought to if voters approved ours and the 12-week ban? We don't want to get into hypothetical situations yet. We first, need to make sure that the Secretary of State does their job and as they're certifying, but we are prepared for every strategy. Again, we have a strong coalition of brilliant minds, of people-centered movement building that has really dedicated time and expertise to ensuring that we can be successful to really represent what the voters in Nebraska want. And so while that hypothetical situation is out there, right now we're focused on here and now, certifying and getting on the ballot November 5th. Yes.
You've probably heard this before, but how will you be able to address those people that say that this petition is too radical or too extreme?
So the question is, how will we address folks that say that this petition is too radical or too extreme? So this is actually a common sense a petition that really restored the rights that we had under Roe v. Wade in Nebraska. So this is not something radical that we pulled out. We know and we've heard from Nebraskans through polling, being out in community, that this is what they want. They don't want neighbors having to flee to other states to access the care that they need. They don't want government overreaching in personal health care decisions. And so this is not radical, it's common sense. It's what's needed to restore the rights that we had in Nebraska, and it's what the Nebraskan voters want. I thought I saw another hand. Here, and then we'll go back over here. Yes.
Have you been watching how this played out in Ohio and Kansas, and maybe taking that strategy and applying it to your own? How are you looking at that?
So the question is around strategy in other states and how we apply it to ours. And so the landscape around abortion care, of course, impacts what happens here in Nebraska. And so while we are looking and watching, our strategy here is for Nebraska. We are folks from the state that grew up here, that care, that have been doing work here. And so we have really made sure that what we do affects Nebraska and what we want versus lifting and adapting something else from another state. Back there and then up here. Yes.
And about funding, how will you be able to match the funding that will be coming on from your opposition?
Yeah, so we are really proud of what we have been able to fundraise to date from local funders. This shows that folks in our state, from our community, really believe in what we're doing and removing political interference into these really personal healthcare decisions. I think time and time again, it shows that when you build community-based power and movements, that takes precedent over spending. And so while we are confident in our watching the spending of our opposition, you can also check that out at the NADC reports if you wanted to see. We are committed and are really feel confident in what we're able to do here and what we will need to fundraise in order to have a successful campaign. Up here and then back there. Yes.
Talk a little bit about the difference of what you guys might be facing versus all of your other peers in other states. This will be the first state where there might be competing abortion petitions on the ballot at the same time. How much of a different challenge is that, and how much do you think your national peers are aware of that difference?
So the question is around what we are experiencing here about two maybe potential ballot initiatives being on the ballot versus what our peers are seeing. So I think in general, right, folks that are in the business of protecting abortion access in our nation, we communicate with each other, right? Like we're in this together because we want to make sure that care happens across. You can see now with the impact of the Iowa ban, that is going to impact the Midwest, especially Nebraska. And so we are making sure that we stay up to date. We're making sure that we stay communicative. And again, our coalition is filled with brilliant minds. We are thinking through every strategy possible to ensure our success come November 5th. Yes.
Some recent data shows that since the 12-week ban went into place, abortions in the state of Nebraska went down by about 25%. As you mentioned, a lot of people are going to other states or feel that they might have to go to other states to get this kind of treatment. Does that especially kind of highlight the need of this right now for you?
Yes, so the question is around the number of folks accessing abortion care dropping by 25% in Nebraska. And you're absolutely right. So we know that the abortion ban is impacting folks accessing care. People are having to flee the state in order to get the critical care that we need. And so our goal, again, is to remove government out of these very personal healthcare decisions. Our neighbors don't want that. Our neighbors do not want folks having to flee literally life and death situations in order to get access to critical care. And so we are excited for what we were able to do. And again, the 207,000 signatures represents that Nebraskans want to protect our rights. They want to make sure that government is not interfering in these very personal healthcare decisions.
Can you talk about,
We have time for one more. So make it good. You're the last one.
I'm from central Nebraska. What have you done in terms of reaching out to all 93 counties? Do you have signatures from across the state? And what will you be doing going forward to reach voters outside of just Lincoln and Omaha?
Absolutely. So the question is around, this person is from central Nebraska and what we're doing to reach folks across the state. So we actually have signatures from every county. And again, our goal is to ensure the voice of Nebraskans, not just folks in Omaha, Lincoln, Central City. And so that is demonstrated in the amount of signatures that we have and where we collected from. As I mentioned, as I closed our remarks, this is not a moment, but a movement. And we are going across the state to ensure that every voter, every eligible voter, folks that will be voting, haven't thought about voting yet, knows what's in front of them and really what's at stake for Nebraska. There is a lot at stake right now, and we want to make sure that folks are educated and informed and really use their voice as their vote come November 5th, no matter where you live, no matter your political affiliation, no matter how you feel about abortion. It's not a place for government to be intruding.